is definitely going to download something today. And I was, reading Luke chapter 5, and I really got inspired today, and I had to had to tone myself down, because I feel like this could be a whole series. I don't think we're going to have enough time to go through it all, because even as I'm thinking about it and looking at what it says, there's more things that's just being downloaded to me each and every time. So I want to welcome you all to our Monday Mindset session. If you haven't already put a notification, an alarm in your phone to remind you at this time every single Monday to pour into yourself, then definitely make sure you have that alarm on your phone. It is the same link every single week, where we pour into our mind, get our minds right, and get ourselves really focused to where we want to go. And it doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter whether you are stay-at-home mom, whether you are working full-time, whether you are an entrepreneur, whatever it is that you currently do, does not matter to whether you can join these sessions or not. These sessions are simply to help you pour into your mind. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Nikki Sutherland, money and mindset mentor, and I've been doing these sessions now for almost 4 years solidly. And one of the things for me is I realized very early on that God had a bigger calling for my life. And normally when God has a bigger calling for your life, it's normally bigger than your budget, it's normally bigger than where you see yourself, it's normally bigger than every aspect of your own thoughts. The word says he provides exceedingly and abundantly all that we can imagine. And I tell you this, when I first started these sessions, I didn't think I'll be doing them every Monday. I didn't think it was going to last 4 years, that's for sure. I didn't think I was going to keep consistent. I didn't think how far this whole thing will get to, but that's how God is. He's a God that he can see the future. He already knows your future. He already knew you before you were formed. And so it's interesting that we're here talking about this scripture, which is around, the belief system. It's also around giving up. I want you all to take notes today, because I'm extremely fired up about this session. But before we start, right, I want to read you the scripture that has inspired me today, which is Luke 5. And it's about the first disciples. And it says, one day as Jesus was preaching on the shore of Galilee. I'm at verse 1, Luke 5. One day as Jesus was preaching on the shore of the Sea of Galilee, great crowds pressed in on him to listen to the word of God. He noticed 2 empty boats at the water's edge, for the fishermen had left them and they were washing their nets. I want you to write that down, washing their nets. Nets being plural, right? Washing their nets. They had left them and were washing their nets. Stepping into one of the boats, Jesus asked Simon, its owner, to push it out into the water. So he sat in the boat and taught the crowds from there. Okay. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, now go out where it is deeper. Someone write deeper. Okay, let me get my chat box up so I can see you guys. So we've got nets and we've got deeper. Okay. He finished, he said, go out to where it is deeper, let down your nets to catch some fish. There's that word again, nets, N-E-T-S, nets. Master, Simon replied, we worked hard all last night and didn't catch a thing, but if you say so, I'll let the nets down again. And this time their nets were so full of fish, they began to tear. A shout for help brought their partners in the other boat, and soon both boats were filled with fish and on the verge of sinking. When Simon Peter realized what had happened, he fell to his knees before Jesus and said, "Oh Lord, please leave me. I'm such a sinful man." For he was awestruck by the number of fish they had caught, as were the others with him. His partners, James and John, the sons of Zebedee, were also amazed. Jesus replied to Simon, "Don't be afraid. From now on, you'll be fishing for people." And as soon as they landed, they left everything and followed Jesus. All right. And then what happens after that? I'm not going to read the rest. That goes up to verse 11, right? Then what happens after that? They left everything, followed him, and then Jesus is actually cooking fish for them. So they left all of the fish that they got, and they left, and then Jesus is actually cooking them fish, and then they get cooked fish as well, right? And so what is it that we're reading here, and what has this got to do with belief, and what has it got to do with the title of today's message? Okay, and I really want us to understand this, because the topic is limiting beliefs. We are in Decision December, and the title of today's call is Get Back into the Boat. All right. And I started to think about the season that we're in. And, towards the end of the year, a lot of the time we can start to look at our goals. We can start to say, you know what, maybe this is going to happen next year. We can start to wrap up. There's some people right now that have kind of thrown in the towel. I know for myself, this time of year, I start to evaluate what's happened so far, and also decide how I'm going to finish strong to start into the new year. And I know a lot of people are in a stage, in a part of their life right now, at this time of year, where we start to think about the new year. Anybody feel what I'm talking about? You start to reflect on your goals. You start to plan for January, February. You start to think about having a strong start to the new year. Sometimes you even get into the festive spirit. You start to plan dinner. You start to plan how much fun you're going to have. You start to plan. And what can happen is sometimes, we start to have limiting beliefs. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I can't do this. Maybe God just doesn't want me to do it. Maybe it is a season where I need to change up the plan. And when we're looking at this piece of scripture here, let me just go in and look at my notes around conflicting beliefs. And mentoring a lot of people, I hear similar things. Okay. And I was speaking to somebody today, and she was like, Nikki, I know God has been speaking to me. I believe God. I know God has been speaking to me. But there's something on the inside of me that still has, these doubts. I know God can do it, but can he really do it for me? Am I really capable? Can I really do this? And I was speaking to Pastor Luke today, and I said to Pastor Luke, do you know that as much as I am, mindset queen, and I talk about all this stuff, the higher you go, you get a new level of imposter syndrome. Like the more you progress, it doesn't just disappear. You don't just heal from this stuff. And it's like, okay, I don't have imposter syndrome for my last season. I don't have imposter syndrome for what happened. It's like, the more God calls from me, the more is like, yo, are you sure, God? Like, do you really mean you want me to go over there? Do you really want me to do that? Is it? Sometimes I look at Anton and I'm like, oh my God, did he really bless me with this man? Like, no, it doesn't matter how successful you are. Trust me. It doesn't matter how many goals you've achieved. There's always going to be a new level, because otherwise you'd be arrogant and you'd think that you can do this all by yourself. And so there's always going to be a level where you say, okay, Lord, if this is to be, then I hand this over to you. Like, you've got to give me clear instructions. You got to be with me, just like in Joshua 1, where he says, I'm going to be with you always. You have to lean on that word and say, Lord, I need you to be with me, because right now I believe, but I need you to, I need you to show up. Like, I need you to help me. And there's a scripture, actually, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I pulled it up because I was wondering about this whole idea of conflicting beliefs, where you can say that you believe, you believe, but then you're wondering how, like, can it really happen for me? Can it happen really this year? Is it really going to happen by the date that I put it? Is it really going to happen in the way that I said? Is it really going to happen, Lord? And there's a scripture in, let me see if I can find it, in Mark. I think it's in Mark 9, right? It's in Mark 9 when the guy was praying for his son, and he was asking Jesus to, I think he was asking Jesus to heal his son. And let me see if I can find it. But it's so powerful, this scripture, because it says something around like, I believe, but teach me how to believe. It was like almost like a conflicting statement. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Let me see if I can find it. right? It says, Jesus said to him, if you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes. And immediately the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Lord, I believe, help my unbelief. So imagine you're asking God, you're saying, Lord, I believe, but I still need you to help my unbelief. That means you can believe and still have unbelief. So some of you will come on these calls and you'll be fired up and you'll hear the things and you'll write down the notes and you're like, yes, I feel it, I hear it, I know it. But at the same time, there's still some doubts, there's still some unbelief that it can really happen for you. And here's what happened. When Jesus saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, deaf and dumb spirit, I command you to come out of him and enter him no more. Then the spirit cried out, convulsed him greatly, and came out of him. So this is the dad is asking Jesus to heal his son. Okay, this is Mark 9, yes, 24. Thank you. And he's asking him to heal his son, and like Jesus is saying, for all things are possible for those who believe. So he's saying, I believe, but still help my unbelief. Meaning, I kind of need to see this thing. Like, show me. I believe, but I need you to help my unbelief as well. And sometimes I think, you know, we can be people like that. We can say we believe, we can clap, we can sing, we can shout, we can do all of the things, but there's parts of us that still don't believe. So, you know, some of us, how many of you are asking for a relationship to come back? Maybe it's a child, or a parent, and you're asking for that parent or that child to come back, but then you self-sabotage, you know, or you fight, or you do something conflicting for what it is that you said that you want, or you're asking God to open doors, but because you don't believe, you don't step into the doors when they come. You run away from opportunities when they come. Or you're asking God for something, but then you don't show up for yourself in what it is that you say. And that is conflicting beliefs. And for me, a lot of the time, it's because we feel uncomfortable, or we feel less of, or we don't feel like we're ready, or we don't feel like we can. And, you know, those of you that know that I've been going into the, you know, prisons often. And one of the things that I've been doing is, after going into the prisons, we then do the probation after. And it's like the help. Once you come out, it's like the, you know, getting you back into society, getting you back into, you know, where it is that you aspire to get to. And one of the things that I noticed there is, even though some of them are out of the cell, what happens is they still need that assurance that once they're out the cell, that their life's not over. It's like, you're not in the cell no more, but spiritually you're still there. And what happens to some people, that's why they say, once you get into the system, you got to have a really good support system around you, so you don't self-sabotage and go back in, because deep down inside, you think that's all that I can do. And then you go and reoffend, or you go and do some stuff. And so you can believe that you want to come out. Some of them believe that they want to come out, but when they come out, they self-sabotage. When they come out, they find themselves back in the same place because they don't believe that they can really elevate. And so, you know, some of us say that we're uncomfortable with poverty, but we stay there. We don't branch out to change the situation. And it's not that we don't want better, it's just that it feels weird doing something different. It feels weird coming out of our familiarity zone. And so for us, and for some people, being in poverty, being poor is normal. It's what they're used to. You know, it's normal to rob Peter to pay Paul. It's normal to you know, be topping up the electric and looking at the number and being like, okay, I got to put this on for the week. Some things are just normal. And it's about, you know, I always talk about the paradigm shift, about changing some of the things. And a lot of it ties into our system of belief. You see, the system of belief is around, and we spoke about this, those of you in VIP, we spoke about, you know, the fact of the environment trains our belief system. And I believe there's two things that's really gonna, you know, show us when it comes to our belief system. And it is, of course, our environment and the people around us, and the, you know, the experiences that we have. And so we're now in a position now where we are challenging our belief system. Okay, we're challenging the environment we're in. We're challenging what our parents taught us. Okay, but we're still in that battle. We're still fighting because that old, the old paradigm is still there, attempting to fight out. And so here's what happens. We have to understand, guys, that it's possible to believe and still have unbelief in our spirit. That's the first thing we got to understand, because until we understand that, we ain't gonna be able to fight it. It's something that I've been working consciously on. Like, I know I believe, I know I understand the power of God. I know that he is, the omnipotent. I know that he is a healer. I know that he is a provider. I know that he can do all things. I know that he is in me, and I know that there is a big blessing on the end of my life. I know that there are things that he wants me to achieve. But I also have to understand that it is my responsibility. It is my duty to walk in it, and the truth of the reality is that when that dad was saying, Lord, I believe, but help me with my unbelief, what he's really saying is that I know you can do it, but I need you to help that bit in my mind that's worried. I need you to help that bit in my mind that's a bit scared. I need you to help that bit in my mind that's doubting whether you can do it for me. And so there's two parts to play in this: the environment that's going to affect our belief system, and the genetic, the DNA that we've been grown up in. Okay, this is our parents, our grandparents, the things that we've been taught growing up. And so we only believe on the level that we're surrounded with. So if you're hanging around a certain type of people, and the words that you're hearing, the environments that you're in, if everybody around you, I don't know, drank rosé wine, then guess what? The likelihood is you're going to drink rosé wine. But if everybody around you was drinking champagne or was drinking, I don't know, whatever else drinks there are, the likelihood is that's going to be the level of standard. And so the environment that we were brought in, it has this effect on us. Think about the DNA stuff. Our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents. We spoke about this whole rice and peas situation, and how, every Sunday we cooking rice and peas. That wasn't from my mom. That wasn't from my grandma. Great granny used to do it. Her mom used to do it. I have no idea why. If anybody on this call can tell me why, please. Nobody knows why, but we do it, guys. And we do it every Sunday. And if we don't, we feel weird. If we don't, we feel like we're going against the grain. Every Sunday, rice and peas. In fact, yesterday, I was tired and I said to Anton, put on the peas. It's like, it's a natural thing. It's like, it has to happen. Now, some of us, that's what's happening in our life right now. We do things naturally, but there's no real reason why. We're just doing them because that's the paradigms that's been passed down to us. These are the things that our family's been taught us to do. These are the things that's been passed down. And don't get it twisted. Just as simple as rice and peas has been passed down into our families, guess what else has? The way we think about money, the way we behave, the way we live, the way we approach relationships. Our belief system sometimes can be so low to the point where we don't even realize, that song we were listening to at the beginning was talking about miracles, right? And some of us, we believe a miracle is a house, or we believe a miracle is a car or a job. Like, let me be absolutely clear on this. And I was reflecting on this, and I was listening to a TD Jakes, and TD Jakes said this. He said, do you know that those things aren't miracles? There's people that don't even believe in God that has a car, that has a house, that has a job, right? They're not miracles. They're pretty standard. If you have a good credit report, you can get a car and a house and a deposit. If you got a little deposit money, you got a good credit score, it's not a miracle you will go and get that car and that house. Those things are not miracles. You know what a miracle would be? A miracle would be something in the lines of, you don't have no money, you don't have no credit score, and all of a sudden you got an email saying you have a house. Now that would be a miracle, right? Or a miracle would be a car actually just driving itself, coming outside your house, and the logbook goes through your letterbox and says, hey, look, this is your car. That would be a miracle. But so what we do is we aim so low because guess what? We're taught by our environment what a good standard is. And this is where our belief system is challenged, ladies and gentlemen, because we are only as good as what we believe. It says in the word that before he healed, the young boy, he said, based on your belief, if you shall believe. So that tells me that we have to work on our belief system. We have to make sure that we understand the God that we serve is abundant. The God that we serve can do all things. The God that we serve has the ability to do all things. He is still a miracle working God. And so when we decide to put things off till next year, when we start to change, the address of what it is that we said we were going to go for, when we start to throw in the towel, like what, Simon and Amanda were doing, because you guys, I don't know if you understand what was happening, right? Is when they were washing their nets, they're saying that, look, we ain't caught no fish today. It's almost like you're washing the pot because you're going to put it down. They're washing their nets. They're saying, yo, look like today we ain't gonna catch nothing. Today is gonna be a day where, boy, it looked like a dry day. We ain't gonna eat today. They're washing their nets. They're putting it, or they're saying, listen, today's not the day to catch. And how many of us have been in a position where we're like, you know what, maybe it's not happening today. Maybe it's not gonna happen this year. I was speaking to some of the VIPs and I can't remember who it was, but someone was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it. I'm going to do it next year or maybe in a few years' time. I was like, why aren't you doing it now? Like, why are you putting off something? Your belief system is telling you that you can't achieve it this year. You can. And so they're washing their nets because they're saying that they're giving up. How many of us have got to a place where we've given up on our goals? We've thrown in the towel. We've started to wash our nets because we're saying that we ain't going to catch no fish. We're not going to catch no fish. And so we've been trapped in this system for years, guys. A system of, where we're looking at our environment, we're listening to what's been passed down to us, and we are trapped in this system of depression, this system of saying what we see, this system of lack, poverty, the system of desperation, the system of feeling inadequate. Anybody ever felt like that? Like, oh, I ain't good enough. And then what we do is to prove that we're human, we hang around people that validate those same principles. So the same values that we have. So we hang around these people because they're going to keep the same language. They're going to keep the same paradigm. And guess what happens? We're trapped in this invisible system. And this invisible system that tells us what to believe. But guess what? It's invisible, but it manifests tangibly. It manifests in the physical. And then we wonder why sometimes we wake up and we don't feel good, or we feel down, or we feel depressed, or we feel like we're not good enough, or we feel like we're not going to be able to do it, or we feel like the goal is too big. So Simon is this fisherman and he's washing his nets because he thinks his belief system says it's over. Have you ever been in a place, like, I don't know if there's any business owners where you're getting no sales and you're just like, oh, is my business over? Because he's a fisherman, so that's his business, right? He's like, my business is done. Like, I'm catching nothing. His belief system is telling him that it's time to wash his nets. Because back then, and I don't know if it is now, I think it is now, like when in the shallow end, that's not where you catch fish. The fish goes in the deep, right? And they don't normally go there in the daytime. It's at the night, right? In the daytime, they're gone deep, deep, deep. You can't catch them. And so Simon has been fishing all night and caught nothing. So when Jesus comes along and he says to him, listen, it's now daytime. And he now says, drop your nets again. Go back in again. Go back in again and drop your nets again. He shows up just as Simon is about to quit. Well, technically, he's already quitting because he's washing his nets. And he says, go back in again. it's almost like a confrontation. It's almost like he's saying, yo, you lot are giving up. Have you given up? Like, how many people on this call has had something put over their life, but you've given up on it? Or you told yourself today's not the day. Or you said to yourself, you know, I know I'm supposed to have a husband, but I want to have one, but maybe I'm just destined to be single. Or I know I'm supposed to launch a business, but I haven't got no money, so maybe it's just not going to happen for me. Maybe I should just stay where I am. Or you said to yourself, you know what, things are looking rough, because you're looking by sight. Things are looking rough right now. Maybe this season is just a rough season. We start to speak the quitting language to ourselves, but what we do is we pretend we ain't quitting. So Jesus is about to bring Simon into a serious level of like a paradigm shift and awareness that, bruv, you ain't quitting today. You better go put your net back in the water. And this time, he told him to go deeper. He's like, you ain't settling right now without catching nothing. Deep. Like when you throw in, when you wash your net and put your net down, what you're basically saying is your business is done. You have no business. So you are quitting on the vision that I've given you. You're quitting on the blessing that's about to happen for you because of what you see, because you feel like you haven't caught no fish. So washing your net says, no one's ever going to love me. Washing your net says that you can't grow any further. Washing your net says, I can't do this no more. Washing your net says that, okay, it probably isn't going to happen for me. Washing your net is giving up on your goal. That's what washing your net is. Have you ever seen yourself function? Because this is what believing is, but still having unbelief. You see yourself function. You seem to do the right things. You're showing up. You are talking the talk physically. But spiritually, you done quit a long time ago. You know, one of the other things I heard TD Jakes say, TD Jakes says that when he counsels, and I've heard other pastors say this, when they counsel married couples that are going through problems or that are asking like they're going to get divorced or whatever, he said that the divorce doesn't come when the papers come. People check out a lot more. They check out months before, sometimes years, spiritually. Homeboy was saying that they could be cooking in the kitchen. They could be giving all of the, doing the housework, doing all of the stuff. But spiritually, they did done check out long time. Because the spirit happens first. The spirit is moved first. So people can quit and still show up. Some of you on this call are showing up, but you quit. Some of you on this call right now, right? On the outside, it looks like, yeah, I'm going for it. I believe. But on the inside, spiritually. And so what Jesus wanted to do, he wanted to remove that quitting spirit from Simon. Yo, listen, I'm watching this thing and I'm reading this scripture and I'm like, yo, this is deep. What it's saying is it's uncovering what is on the outside, uncovering the facade that's put on the outside. It's uncovering what it is going on day to day and saying, no, deep down, you quit, bro. Deep down, sis, you quit. You've thrown in the towel. You've started to wash your nets. You're pretending like you're still here. You're pretending like you believe. But along comes Jesus to disrupt. There has to be a disruption. Along comes Jesus to disrupt that train of thought. And I believe that God is getting ready to do something radical in this season. I honestly believe that there is going to be a shift. Like, I don't say this lightly when it comes to certain things, but I feel like there's gonna be something radical in this season where people just start to believe in themselves. People start to move. They stop washing their nets and they put their net in one more time. Did they say, do you know what? I'm going to go in one more time. I'm going to go and I'm going to step by faith. Jesus says, let that net out again. Let the nets out again. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Get back on the boat. Get back on the boat. Have you ever been, this is me with food now. Have you ever been in a buffet, right? Not a buffet. Yeah, buffet. Let's say buffet. I ain't been in a buffet for years, but this is why I don't like buffets. You ever been in a buffet, eat as much as you like. And before you finish, they pick up the plate because they're cleaning up as they go. You're like, yo, I ain't done yet. I'm still eating. I'm still eating. Don't touch my plate. When you're in a restaurant and they want to come clean out your plate early, I'm like, listen, I am still eating. Do not touch my plate. I'm not done yet. I'm still in the boat. I am still in the boat. Do not take my plate. And some of us, we sit down while they take the plate and we're like, oh, I can't bother. No. Give me a new plate. I'm still eating. I am still on this boat. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. But what happens is because of past sometimes. Oh, because we didn't catch no fish yesterday, I won't bother tomorrow. Because I didn't do, because of somebody such and such said this, I don't know if I should carry on. It didn't work last time, so maybe it wasn't for me. Nah. Nah. You see, one of the things that was very interesting to me, and this is something I never saw before, when I read it, it said that when Jesus was in the boat, let me see if I find it. He was in the boat and he said to the peoples, it said that the people were sitting there and they were listening to him, right? The people were sitting there and they were listening to him. I need to find it. It's Luke 5. Let me see if I can find it. He sat in the boat, yeah, verse 3. He sat in the boat and taught the crowds from there. I ain't never seen that before. That means Jesus got in the boat with them. And he didn't just get in the boat with them. He's turned the boat. The boat is no longer just a place where the man them are fishing. He's turned the boat into a whole sermon. It's like the boat is now a podium. The boat is now where people are gathered around. And now they're getting a lesson. Like he's now teaching from the same place that they thought there was a drought. Oh my God, you guys ain't getting this. You guys ain't getting this. I need you to understand this. I need you to understand this. I'm in a paradigm shift. I was so ready to give up because where I was looked empty. Where I was looked like there was no success. Where I was looked like nothing wasn't happening. But along came Jesus, and all of a sudden, the crowds began to come around because now not only was my limitations proven to be where there was going to be abundance, but also as well, it was now a lesson for many people to come around and begin to start to learn the blueprints. How about this? How many of you heard me say this before, that your life is a blueprint for somebody else? The things that you overcome, the things that you've been through is actually a guide for someone else. The same place that you think is holding you back, the same area that you're ashamed of, the same area that you think is embarrassing, the same area that you need that paradigm shift is the same area where God is about to bless you. If you only decide to put your net back in one more time. I was getting ready to give up, but now I'm getting ready for the paradigm shift. I'm tired of living in my limitations. I'm getting ready to go radical. I'm tired of being in a situation where I'm begging for bread, hunting for fish. I'm so busy worrying and wondering about the problem in my business, but the problem isn't in my business. The problem is in me. You're busy worrying about your business. You're busy worrying about your mission, your calling, your next level. But the problem isn't in your business. The problem isn't in your next level. The problem is in you. The problem is in you because you've started to wash your nets. And so not only does Jesus say, put your net back in, he now gets in and uses the whole situation as a training ground, and now the crowds start to come around. When you change, your business will change. When you change, that's where you begin to see the changes. That's where you start to see the breakthrough. And Jesus says launch, but he doesn't say launch. He says launch deeper. He says launch out. Just when you're about to quit is when you're supposed to launch out a bit deeper. Is when you're supposed to invest in a little bit more time, invest in a little bit more money, invest in a little bit more courage. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting ready to launch. I'm getting ready to launch like I've never launched before. Even if I have to launch out by myself, I don't care who believes. I don't care who doesn't believe. I don't care who's doubting. I don't care who's got something to say. But this scripture has told me that I have permission to put my net in again. And not net, nets. I have permission to launch out. I have permission. And here's a bit that got me. Sometimes it's not going to happen where and when you think it's going to happen. Oh, but Jesus, you really want me to put the net out in the day? Fish ain't out in the day. I got fish at night. It's just like, you ain't learning, sis. With me, do you understand? You may control the boat, you may control the net, but do you know I own the sea? Like, I know exactly what's going on out here. And so even in a time, oh, this is going to get you guys. Even in the time where you think it's not going to happen, it's going to happen. You say it can't happen before Christmas. Will you trust him? You say it won't happen before the end of the year. Can you trust him? Oh, it's going to happen next year. No, can you trust him? Oh, but Nikki, you don't understand. I don't have it. But can you trust him though? This is about unlocking the disbelief, unlocking the limiting beliefs. This is about understanding that if you can trust him in all things, you are going to see a miracle. Miracles don't happen based on what you think miracles are. Miracles don't happen based on what you think is possible. All things are possible to those who believe. That means it can happen overnight. It can happen before the end of the year. You don't tell me. But here's the thing. It's based on our belief system. So we have to unlock the limiting belief system. If you're frustrated in this time, it's time to launch. If you're worried in this time, it's time to get back in the boat. Let me tell you this. You guys know Nehemiah is my favorite book in the Bible. And there's a reason why. Because Nehemiah never stopped. Nehemiah was like, listen, we just changed up the strategy. I'm going to defend in one hand and I'm going to build in another hand. I ain't stopping. Nehemiah is a warrior. Listen, if you really study Nehemiah a bad man. He's a real bad dog. Right? He's a bad boy from his barn. Nehemiah said, yeah, when the enemy's coming to war and the enemy's coming to tear down his vision, he ain't getting off the boat. Nehemiah's like, let me tell you something. We may have to switch it up a bit. Me want them little dirty boy come down here, so let me see, me have something for them in this hand. But guess what? Me still a billion in this hand, yeah. Nehemiah said, no, but now stop. Some of you need to take a leaf out of Nehemiah's book about you flying off, you running down to not go build your vision, right? Nehemiah said, nah, we ain't stopping. I ain't getting out the boat. Even when it looks impossible, Nehemiah said, they ain't getting out the boat. Him now get out of the boat. So here they are now. They launched, I digress. They launched, and here's the thing. Different translations say different things, right? But there's one translation that says they launched out and they dropped their net. N-E-T. Check this out. Jesus told them to go and drop their nets. They went back and they dropped their net. So guess what happened now? The team decided to start breaking because they couldn't carry all the fish. You see, their limiting beliefs told them, all right, yeah, we believe a little bit, so let's just bring one net. But Jesus didn't tell you to bring one net. Man said, bring your nets. So now, because of their small thinking, right, their limited belief, they didn't follow instructions. They thought they were going to do it their way. How many times has God given you an instruction like, yeah, I'll do it like this, but you ain't taken the full instruction? You take piece of the instruction. You hear the word and you're like, okay, yeah, she told me to do an Instagram live once a day. I'm going to do it once a week because at least I'm putting myself out there. Oh, God told me to launch, the business, but maybe I should wait. It's funny, I gave an instruction to somebody in VIP and, they were so fired up. And 24 hours later, they're like, God told me to not launch and to do it as a Zoom instead. I said, God told you that? Or your limiting beliefs told you that? Huh? God told you to reduce the goal and do it as a Zoom call instead of did God really tell you that? Or is that your limiting beliefs telling you that? Don't play with, listen, I read this word. He don't shrink. I've never seen him he turned water into wine. Tell me the God that turned wine into water. I'll wait. I'll hold. But your limiting beliefs will make you start to drop the net. So now instead of launching the nets, you launch the net because you're uncoachable. You're living back into, you can't help yourself. The old paradigm just sneaking a little bit. So now you've gone from doing nothing, from giving up, and now you're going to rate yourself because at least I'm not giving up, but I'm not going to go all in. God is going to show up bigger than you think, and you got to be ready for it, yo. You got to be ready for when he shows up. I did an Instagram live the other day saying, stay ready. Don't have to get ready. Don't have to get ready. You're praying for the breakthrough, but when it comes, you're holding back. You're praying for, the opportunity, but when it comes, you're holding back. You're making excuses. You're telling yourself next year. You're telling yourself, oh yeah, God want. If God wanted it to happen, I guess it will happen. No, he needs you to step in the boat. He needs you to put your nets out. You're making all these excuses based on your limiting beliefs, but guess what? In this season, I had an instruction from God and he said to me, you better bring everything you have. Don't leave no nets on the shore. You bring everything you have because this season is not a small season. This is a season of a serious blessing. And if you don't bring your nets, it's going to slip away from you. It's going to slip away. I think there's this old paradigm of playing it safe. Playing it safe. How many of us, especially Caribbean, African parents, we were taught school, college, university, get a good education. That was the safe thing to do. If you ever turned around and told them you're going to be an entrepreneur, you better make sure you know where you're going to live, right? Because at the end of the earth, you better be looking for a place to stay, not under this roof, right? We've been trained to play it safe. We've been trained. We all had the same mom. I think we did. Right? We've been trained to think like this. So of course, when God is going to give you a new idea, when he's pushing you to be who he's called you to be, when there's an abundance ready for you, a miracle, because remember, we don't recognize miracles. We think a miracle is a house and a car, because pretty standard stuff, right? So when the miracle is there, we shy away, we run away. And because of the belief system, we bring one net. I think this is a season where God wants us to put our best foot forward, where he wants us to decide, here we go, decision December, is to decide to really do it big. Decide. Now, I don't know what that means. Maybe for you, that's launch a business. Maybe it's write a book. Maybe it's both. Maybe it is just going all in with what it is that you have. I put a message out in another group today and I said, God really downloaded in my spirit for me to say, start what you finished. Some of you have started books, haven't finished them. Some of you have started a business and haven't, done it to completion. Some of you have the idea written on paper, haven't executed it yet. And I think he's saying this because he wants you to remember the power that he has. It's almost like the guys in the boat when the storm was coming. Jesus is asleep, and they're sitting in the boat panicking. And I can imagine one of them saying, excuse the names, yo, Winston, we're going dead, And then the next one's like, yo, Elroy, me don't know why Jesus have we on the boat and in my sleep. Right? And they're panicking, shaking. Right? And he go, Mr. Brown, say, we are dead, tell the wife, if you live and me not live, tell the wife, say me love her. And they're all in the boat nervous, shaking, doubting, panicking, worried. And then Jesus pops up and says, oh, no, idiot, you don't know, say, I mean, run the place. And he says, see, all right, test over. He said, you see, on a fail test, big time, no faith, with a T, no H, no faith. Yo, on a lick of faith, people. Now, why I say it in a Jamaican accent, it's the paradigm, it's the trauma that I've been growing up in. Excuse me, guys. Ye of little faith, for those that needed translation. Mighty God, will we step? Can we not just relax and know that everything he has under control if we just trust him? Can we not just be in a place where we say, do you know what, I'm launching, I'm going all in, I'm tired of this life. How many of you are tired of being broke? I remember when I was just so broke, I didn't even have any food in the cupboards. I remember I was so broke, I had to look at my son eating and I couldn't even get no food. I remember I was so broke, I couldn't put petrol in the car. I was tired of being broke. And then when it came to my purpose, I was tired of waking up not knowing what I was called to do. I was just tired of feeling frustrated, tired of doing the same old routine. I felt sick. Enough is enough. At some point, you got to say, do you know what? Enough is enough. Enough is enough. I'm throwing that net. And here's what happens. Simon throws out the net. And there's so many fish that the net starts to break. There's so many fish that he himself cannot even pull it out. So guess what he has to do now? He has to call the man them, hey, come help me pull this fish. Yo, fish is here, Don. Fish is here, Donny. As the young people say, yo, Donny, the fish is there. And they're all coming to help pull the fish. You know what that tells me? That you need a network. Oh, come on now. You guys ain't giving me ratings for these words. Listen, you need a network to help you. You can't do this thing alone. I was chatting to my sister, Dr. Marcy, the other day, and I was saying, Doc, yo, sometimes it's lonely out in these streets, yo. Sometimes it's like, I see the vision. I just want a few people to believe. I want a few people to believe enough where we can run for this thing. There's one thing, one person doing it, but there's another thing, a collective, all running together on one accord. Who's helping you pull in that fish right now? Do you even have someone to call if you had to pull in the fish? People are going to be saying to you, yeah, call me back next week. Yeah, bro, you want to see me look busy right now. We have one cat here. We just talk to one girl on your corner. So me call you back next week. Like, bro, do you know we got fish here? Like, I got the fish. I got the fish. I don't care what you're doing right now. Drop it, Reggie. Come and help me pull in the fish. down, yeah, girl. You know, I'll give you a real story, guys, real quick before we lock off this, right? I'll give you a real story. I remember I was going, listen, guys, I've been through it. I've been through it. Maybe I'll tell this story on Instagram Live one time. This is a story I've never shared before. And I remember my baby father had left me. I'd had the baby in my belly. Obviously, I had Nick Kane as well. And things were tight. I think I was about 6 months pregnant, maybe 7. And I had the hip pop out. So I was bedbound and it was really, really rough. And I remember calling my best friend. I can laugh about it now because, you know, it's all part and parcel of it. And I remember calling this girl. And by the way, this is a girl that I have helped. I helped her pull in so much fish, right? I didn't think it'd be, you know, there's no shame in sisterhood. You know, when we're going through it, we can call each other and we can be honest. That's what sisterhood is all about. And, you know, I called her and I said, sis, you know, I got no food in my cupboards. I am hungry. As a pregnant person being hungry, you know, it's bad, right? And I said, I'm so hungry right now. Like, oh, I feel sick. I've got nothing to eat and I'm bedbound and da-da-da. And this heifer, she said, oh, I'll call you back in a few hours. I'm just going into the hairdressers to get my hair done. And I was like, you know, and you know, we're a little bit proud. So I never pushed it. And I just said, okay. And I put on my WhatsApp story, I fancy some oxtail and rice and peas and butter beans. Just put it on my story. And another friend, and I'm going to call her name Tiffany. And Tiffany sent, I don't know if it's Deliveroo or whatever, oxtail, rice and peas and butter beans to my house. She saw it on my story and she just sent it me. And I tell you this, when that food came and I ate it and I was full, I cried. I said, thank God for Tiffany. Thank God for Tiffany. And you can either have friends like Tiffany or you can have friends like the other one. I ain't even going to call her name. But I will tell you this. Everyone needs someone to help them pull in the net every now and again. And that's why I was so determined to create a network of supportive people who can say to each other, listen, I got you, sis. Like, I don't want anyone to feel alone. I don't want anyone to feel like they're hungry and they can't get no food. I don't want anyone to feel like they're pulling that fish by themselves. Sometimes it feels like it. And yeah, I put up that story the other day, the post about friends versus sisters. And there's a different standard that I wouldn't call my friend and expect my friend to send me food. But someone that calls me a sister, I expect them, if they got it available, like there's so many times I didn't get my hair done to support her. There's so many times that, you know, I made sacrifices for my sisters. And you have a different level of expectation for your sisters. I expect my sisters to comment on everything I post more than once. I do it for them. If I see my sister's post, I'm commenting all over that bad boy because I expect my sisters to help my algorithm. I don't expect friends to do that. I expect my sisters to support my business, even if they don't buy from it, but they share it on their page. I expect my sisters to rock with me. I expect my sisters. These are things that you expect from your sisters. You don't expect it from friends. I expect my sisters to help me pull in the fish. And sometimes you feel like you're pulling that fish by yourself. And you're like, is anybody there? Is anyone going to help me? Does anyone see this vision that I have right now? And I tell you this, sometimes you have to launch and those people will come. Those people will come and they're going to help you carry the fish, but you can't wait until you see those people because the word says that it's when the fish came, then he called the people. So you can't wait to lower your net waiting for people. You have to lower your net and know that the people will come. God will send you those right people. So he throws in the net. So many fish. You have to ask the people to hold him out. You need the network. You need strategic partnerships in this season. This is not good enough just to blag your way through. It's not good enough to hope for the best. You know, technology is so advanced now, everybody's doing everything. You got to become, you know, a master at your field. You got to raise the standards of what you're doing. You know, for those of you that are in VIP, we're really going to speak about raising the standards. I know that I've taught on, you know, social media in the past, but the training I'm going to give you guys now is something that I've never taught before. And it's about raising the standards when it comes to your social media and your presence. And when you show up at the best version of yourself. You know, you will have days where you won't feel like it, but listen, there's going to be times you don't feel like lowering the nets, but you still have to lower those nets. Otherwise you catch no fish. And so I'm going to really go deep on our masterclass that we have on Tuesday for those of you inside the VIP, because you're going to have to be strategic in this season. It's like years ago, I was talking to one of my you know, good friends earlier on today, and we were talking about how years ago you'd grow your Instagram just like this. People will be there, but now it's so busy. You got to work a little bit more harder to get the attention. My Facebook used to give me 30, 40, 50 comments. Now, if I don't work it, I'll be lucky if I get 5. So the times and seasons have changed. And so we got to make sure we raise the standard. We're always, you know, working on mastery. We're always working on, listen, the system that's held us bound requires a system to break us free. You need a system to break you free. You can't do it alone. You have to be strategic. You've got to have a system in place. Even me, myself, guys, I'm limited without a network. I'm limited without a strategy. And those strategies, I'm going to go, we haven't got time now, but I'm going to go deeper inside the, you know, the VIP. But you need a system to overcome a system. So just to reiterate, guys, you know, this is going to take, it's probably going to take all you have. It's going to take a mindset, a decision to say, hey, look, I'm deciding to get back in the boat. How many of you know you've been on the sidelines? You haven't been in the boat lately. If you know you haven't been in the boat lately, but you know today's the day you're going to get back in the boat. You're going to have to challenge your existing paradigms. You know, Simon Peter said, you know, Lord, I'm not worthy. You know, I'm not worthy, Lord, of this blessing. Like, even he was confused. Like, he knew that the blessing wasn't about him being righteous. Because he knew it wasn't about him being righteous. But you know what it was about? Him being obedient. That he made the decision to get back into the boat. He made the decision to put his net back in one more time. Some of you have got to make a decision to be obedient to what God has said to you. Get back in that boat. Drop those nets. Not one net. Drop the nets. Give yourself that talk. I believe that God is going to give someone a serious blessing off the back of this call. I honestly believe it. Bigger than you've ever had. It's going to strain all your existing belief systems. It's going to push you. 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 But you know, the last bit that I really felt in my spirit was this. It's not just about the bottom line. It's not just about money. Because obviously it's a business, right? We're talking about business. This is a fishing business. He's a fisherman. It wasn't about the money. Because guess what he did? After the blessing, he left the fish and followed Jesus. I don't know if you guys caught that part. He left the fish and followed Jesus. And guess what happened? Jesus was giving him cooked fish. So when you leave and you follow the word, guess what's going to happen? He left the raw, he left the unscaled, he left the stinky, unwashed fish to get escovitch, fried fish with bummy. man got it all cooked up with the juices and ting, mind the pimento seeds and the peppers and them ting. He left the dirty unscaled fish, and man was getting it all prepared for him neatly, yo. Right? He got it all prepared neatly and sweetly with a little bammy on the side, yeah, crispy, and them things. Watch the bones, right? Sometimes you just have to, it doesn't make sense to people. Sometimes it don't make sense to people, but it doesn't have to make sense to people. You just have to know. You just have to know that, yo, there's a bigger catch. But we got to drop those nets. And you can't do it in the shallow end. You got to go deeper. You can't do it in the shallow end. You have to go deeper. You can't. You can't do it in the shallow end. So how do you go deeper? You got to go deeper in your spirit. You got to go deeper in your work ethic. You got to go deeper in your belief system. You got to go deeper in your trust. Deeper, deeper, deeper. Deeper. 153 fish man walked away from. He caught 153. Walked away from 153 fish and went into Jesus cooking in fish. All I know right now is some of us, we've got to destroy the past. We got to forgive. We can't get caught up on what we left behind, but know that what we're walking into is going to be far greater. I'm excited about each and every one of you finishing the assignment that God has given you. And I know that God will honor your obedience. When you are obedient to God, we're not talking about righteousness, different call. And I ain't saying that you can be ratchet and still profit. I'm saying that God will honor your obedience. That's the law. That's the law of honor, right? You guys know that book. And so we got to make a decision today that the year's not over yet. That today we get back in the boat. Today we go harder than we've ever gone before. Today we make a decision that we ain't waiting until the new year before we do what God has called for us to do. I am excited to hear the testimonies. I'm excited to see the blessing of God, the fruit. I'm excited to see how God is going to reward your obedience to his call. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very, very simple. You are called for greatness. Don't allow what you see to stop you from going to see. Oh, that was a bar. You guys can give me that, right? That was a serious bar. Don't allow what you see to stop you from going to see. You got to get in the boat. You have to get in the boat. You got to drop your nets, expand your network, delete previous paradigms. Be obedient to the call and watch the blessings come. Watch the blessings come. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are closing out this week. Next week, we have another, Decision December. I'm looking forward to hearing your testimonies. Those of you that are in VIP, tomorrow's masterclass is 7 p.m. So just to clarify, on this call, we have some people on the call that are not a part of any community that we're in. I also have people that are part of the network marketing company that we're in. And we also have people that are part of the Rebuild community, which is the free community. And then we have people that are part of the VIP, where you guys get a little extras. If you do want to join the VIP, you can still do so at the discounted rate of $17.77, I believe, which is at the rebuildsale.co.uk. It is limited to 30, I think, or 50, and then it goes back up to its original price of £249 a month. So if you want to be a part of that, then definitely go ahead, the rebuildsale.co.uk. All right. Those rebuilders, VIPs, I will see you on the call tomorrow. Those of you that are in the network marketing business, we have the trading calls are back. Just to give you an update, we have the, let me